And why do you love politics out of all the things that you could pursue?
Um, Politics is central in the sense that it dictates, I think, every single aspect of life. You know, politics, the world revolves around politics, yes.
You know, honestly, I never knew you before this podcast, but when I talk to Monty, he speaks very highly of you. So I'm sure he has a lot of questions for you. Monty, I see you're so chilled. Corona is eating you, man.
I think it is eating me, and you know, starting the podcast, I thought the energy was going to be there,
Yeah.
but it's dimming me and it's taking me. Was politics for you just like a hobby? No, things you started looking at from young, or when did your love for politics start growing?
I think perhaps I could say, it's being a product of the nature around you. I could say perhaps growing up, many people involved within the realms of politics or governance were around me, and so for that reason, my interests aligned with that because that was the sort of uh, discussions and information that I was retaining, and led me to look more into it. Yeah.
Yeah, so there are a lot of politicians in your family, right?
I wouldn't say in my family,
Yeah.
but I would say perhaps in my circles, in my wider circles, yes.
So what would you tell someone like me who hates politics? Because I don't like politics.
I think the thing with politics is, as I said, the world revolves around politics.
True.
What happens in your life revolves around politics.
Yeah.
For instance, let's say, you know, something like taxes.
Yeah.
Every individual has to pay taxes.
Yeah.
And the government that will be in authority or in power at that moment,
Yeah.
they have the authority to dictate how that plays out.
Okay.
So that will directly influence you,
Yeah.
and impact you rather. And so, that brings you now that, for instance, when it comes elections or something,
Yeah.
you have to look at the political figures that align more with what you want, and those are the people who you'd vote for. So, politics will always find a way to have some sort of impact in your life. Yeah.
I think I hate it because I don't understand it. I think I should take a look more into it.
It's quite complex.
Yeah.
Let's dive into African identity. What is African identity for those who don't know? I mean, for me, I'm a big fan, but what's African identity and what is it all about?
African identity is a movement, actually. It started off individually, but now it's quite the movement. Um, it's African youth redefining and reclaiming the African narrative. I believe that Africa is a rich continent with diverse with a diverse legacy, and this is the opportunity for African youth, to tap into that and reclaim that narrative that the West have brought forward in the past. So it's essentially a movement where African youth have the power to reclaim the narrative of Africa and reshape African stories.
And if someone's asking you, what's your vision for African identity? What is it?
My vision, I'm trying to get African youth all around the continent, each corner, to come together as one, to build upon each other. For instance, right now at African Identity, we have different departments. For instance, we have an economics desk, we have a legal desk, we have a climate desk, and so now these are, I would say these are areas that have specific influence in Africa, and the individuals who hold these positions are equipped with the specialized skills to tackle these complex issues that Africa may be facing. And the more that we grow, the more that we build uh, African identity as a movement, we get more African youth who are driven and passionate to, delve into these desks, to support each other, to build upon one another. It brings this unity of rather collaboration. African youth coming together uh, to to change again the African narrative, to make an Africa that we would like, we would want. Yeah.
Is it a profit or an NGO?
It's an NGO. Yeah, it's a non-profit. We don't make any profit. Yes.
And do they get paid, or is it more of like
It's voluntary, and this is what I think stands out from every individual who is a part of African identity. This is passion. It's passion for the continent. It's people who, with their specialized backgrounds, they're pushing for societal change, in different areas. And one thing I believe is, if you're passionate about something, you keep going. You keep going, yeah.
So, what challenges have you faced so far in building African Identity platform?
African identity, when I started, it was hard. For instance, being consistent, because I was literally a one-man team. You have to do research, then you have to write, then you also have to craft a visually or aesthetically pleasing carousel or Instagram reel that would lure people's attention. So that's a lot for one person. So just being consistent with that, having to take on everything, it was hard. And at some point as well, like, you're not getting as much as engagement. And I'm not saying that it's about engagement, but obviously if you're putting your effort into something, then you want to know that people are interacting with it, people are learning from it. And that's where engagement comes into play. And so it was hard at first. It got discouraging at some point. I just felt like, maybe I shouldn't continue this. It seemed like there was no reward, but I reminded myself that there was a bigger purpose behind this. And when you come across a barrier, you have to look for ways to go around it. So just because I came across that barrier, it wasn't that that's the end. I have to strategize and look for ways to cross that barrier.
It's crazy because we talked behind the cameras. You told me you are 20 years old, and you do political science, and you do economics, and you're also pursuing entrepreneurship. I mean, how do you manage to juggle all those stuffs at once?
That's a very good question. I don't think people talk about balance. I don't think there's anything like balance. I believe that when you put your foot forward on something, then you have to pursue that. Because if you decide to balance, then you're taking a step back. You're not gonna put all your energy into it, whatever. So there's gonna be other aspects of your life that you're pursuing. They'll be lacking. So I tend to find myself in that boat. That, for instance, sometimes my position maybe as the Secretary General, might take a forward step, and maybe stuff like my education would take a backward step where I might not be studying as much and other things. So I wouldn't say that I'd have a balance, and managing it just sort of happens. You just have to keep going. Yeah.